Hello, young and naive consumers of mass media and entertainment. My name is Tyler Chavez, and I want to welcome you to Crash Course Media Literacy. Over the next few minutes, we will be learning about media literacy, what it is, issues of the lack of knowledge in media literacy, and how you all
Mr. Chavez, is this going to be on the test?
Of course, me from the past. However, this is not a written test. The real test comes when you enter the real world and have to choose whether or not to give into political rhetoric, pay attention to celebrity headlines while in the checkout line at the grocery store, and spread the dreaded fake news. Also, may I add, the test never ends. You will be tested online, on your phone, talking to others, even when just trying to buy a gallon of milk, everywhere. So listen up and pay attention, because media literacy is kind of the most important thing in our country right now. Media literacy is defined as a process of analyzing media content critically by considering its particular presentations, its underlying political or social messages, and how media ownership or regulation may affect the type of media content we receive. That's a boring definition, and frankly, even I don't understand what most of those words mean. Let's break it down. Media literacy began to spread as the penny press newspaper was introduced in the early 1800s. What made the penny press so revolutionary was that, like its name suggested, it only cost a penny, compared to previous newspapers which required a subscription. This cheap cost allowed more people to read the newspaper than ever before, and in order to keep sales up, publishers included stories about sex, scandal, gossip, cheating, and murder. That was dark. Let's bring it back. Older style newspapers typically covered boring topics like politics and economics, but with the emergence of newspapers that had the creative freedom to write stories on more suggestive and controversial topics, the issue of media literacy became more prevalent than before. People now had so much information thrown their way that they actually had to think about which stories were legitimate and real and which were just garbage. This isn't an issue in only print media. On television, we can see it through commercials and how companies are trying to sell us products, and with 24-hour news networks and how they have to drag out stories to fill airtime. On social media, media literacy is extremely prevalent since anyone can share a story from a less than well-known source. The internet is a great place to share opinions and give more people a voice, but it can be dangerous when people don't critically think of these voices and determine what's legitimate and what's not. Media literacy seems pretty simple, right? Like common sense, but how many people just don't get it? In search of an answer to this question, my team and I took to the streets of Elon University.
Long live Elon! Thank you.
In order to find out. Time for Tyler on the Town. This week on Tyler on the Town, we took to the streets of Elon University.
Long live Elon! Thank you.
And approached students to see if they have any knowledge of media literacy. My team and I created 3 fake articles to present to the unsuspecting and probably uneducated subject to see if they at any point questioned the validity of the article, the reporters, or even ask who the heck I was. Let's go! Okay, so this first article we found online that we wanted to ask you about was about Caitlyn Jenner telling her family that she regrets transitioning sometimes. So we just wanted you to look over it, take a look, and tell us what you think about it. Yeah, so we want to know if you think anything about this article seems a bit odd to you.
I don't really think anything. I understand how she might feel because it's a big move for her. I don't know. Yeah, pretty legit. It's just like a big move. I bet there could be like a little bit of regret in it.
Well, the first thing that jumps out is that this is all coming to light in the midst of a bunch of other rumors surrounding the family. That makes me think of that this is more rumor than it is fact. And reflecting doesn't, sorry, I'm just going off like wording. It says that Caitlyn Jenner has recently been reflecting on her decision to transition from male to female. Reflecting doesn't necessarily mean regretting. I don't know if I necessarily believe this article.
Really? Why is that?
Just the way it's written. I think that there's definitely a lot more speculation. It just seems to be very circumstantial, not necessarily where you've been.
So this article we found online talked about Hillary Clinton saying that she was kind of relieved that she lost the election. So we just wanted to know if you could just read this article over and tell us what you think. Like, do you think this article seems like legit? Would you trust something like this?
I mean, I don't know if I'd not trust it, but probably just like be critical when reading it.
What jumps out to you about it?
Like the fact that like they're saying like she laughed, and I don't think I have it in me. Like, obviously, like, she thought she had it in her, so like news, like, headlines can be skewed either way depending on the network, so you never know.
So you think there could be like some sort of bias in the article?
Probably.
Typically when you like see an article like this, do you tend to like read the whole thing through or just like parts of it?
I kind of just skimmed it, looking for like quotes and maybe just things that stood out to me.
Right off the bat, the title is kind of unsettling. I think this quote, looking back honestly, I'm kind of relieved that I lost. I don't think I have it in me. I think sounds to me like she's referring to just running for a third time.
Do you think that bias kind of affects like whether you would believe this or whether it's legitimate?
Yeah, because like I said, I could kind of tell that there was misinterpretation of the quote.
All right, so typically do you like read through articles like this like all the way or just kind of like skim through it?
Skim, like I just did.
We have this article that was posted recently to ENN about there being mold in Lakeside Dining Hall food. So we just wanted to see if you could look over the article and tell us what you think about it. Do you think this is kind of like legit?
If multiple people are saying that there's mold, then I would probably say it's legit. However, I don't think that it would be a common occurrence.
But overall, you think this is kind of like a legit source,
I think
legit
overall
news?
it's probably a legit thing. I would say that since a photo was submitted, then it was probably pretty legit.
So, these results were actually more disturbing than I had hoped. What you'll notice is that many of the people from this experiment didn't question the legitimacy of the article. Some said that since the article had photos and looked professional, they thought it was real. One of our participants got close to breaking through on the Hillary article. She said that she thought the reporter could have been biased and tried to twist the alleged words, but she still thought the article was legitimate. What's even scarier is that they all admitted to not reading articles through all the way. Only one person did not actually believe an article. She took background information on the subject, critically thought about how the reporter phrased things, read through the article, and questioned the legitimacy of the article. So why is it so important to be media literate? Well, the answer should be fairly obvious if you look around the world. We have more sources of media trying to persuade us than ever before and more ways to access them. When you're digesting so much information, it's important to take a step back and say, wait a minute, how much of this is actually good? And we don't mean good like which sources confirm your own biases. We mean good as in quality, well-structured content that is attempting not to persuade you, but teach you something. But Mr. Chavez, media literacy isn't taught in school. How can I get better at it? Great question, me from the past. Media literacy is difficult because it's a skill you need to develop on your own. So what are some tips you can take away from this to become more media literate? Let's review. First, you should always read the entire article or listen to the full story to completely understand what's being discussed. Next, you should think critically of the source. Who's reporting this? Do they have a bias? What details are they potentially leaving out? You should also cross-reference stories on multiple sources to see which details are brought up multiple times. That way you can assess the validity of the article. Lastly, do your research. If something seems fishy on TV, in a tweet, or in a magazine, look it up. Even if information doesn't initially seem odd to you, always look for proof and that a source is viable. Next week we'll be discussing the new Trump Island, a vacation resort bought by Mr. President himself to allow his delegates and supporters to relax and get away on the white sandy beaches of Tahiti. Just kidding! Did you catch that? You should have after today's media literacy lesson. My name's Tyler Chavez. Thanks for watching. See you next time. This episode was produced by students of Professor Bacchino's Communications in a Global Age class. Our project was approved by Professor David Bacchino, our script was written by Mabel Kitchens and myself, our audio was recorded by Evelyn Stevens, our production team was Mabel Kitchens and myself, our animation was done by Sydney Dye, our editing was done by Phoebe Beard, and our graphics team was Sydney Dye. If you like this video or learned something new, please share it with others on social media to encourage education and media literacy. Thanks again for watching.